Check this out. We're going to have a look at a wiring diagram for an engine coolant temperature sensor. Now this is an NTC, negative temperature coefficient, so that means that as it gets warmer, its resistance is going to go down, NTC. Normally, if you took a bundle of wires and you set it on fire, that would be a PTC, positive temperature coefficient, where the resistance would go up. Where you might see something like that would be in, let's say, a motor that as it heats up, when I say motor, I mean electric motor, as it heats up, its resistance goes up, so the amperage goes down, speed goes down. But this isn't that. This is a temperature sensor, and this works pretty much the same for coolant, for oil, for air. Any temperature sensor on a vehicle pretty well works this way. Now, if you notice over here on the left, we have a whopping 18 pages to go through for this wiring diagram. I went through and I labeled some stuff already, so we don't actually have to go through all those pages. But let's start by having a look at the connector itself. So typically, your engine temperature sensors are going to be a 2-wire sensor, although some temp sensors do have a 3rd wire. It's just an additional reference voltage to help make it a little bit more accurate for the ECM, your engine computer, to be able to look at. But for the most part, we're looking at a 2-wire temp sensor. So what do we have? We have wire A, we have wire B. Wire A, that is our low reference. Well, what the heck is that? And then wire B is our temp sensor signal. So low reference is fancy terminology for ground. That is your negative or your ground side. And then the engine coolant temp sense signal is going to be a 5-volt signal in. And then your coolant temp sensor has a resistor. It's a variable resistor. It's a thermistor, technically. And that is going to adjust the voltage drop across the temperature sensor, which then sends a signal back to the computer. So let's actually have a quick look at how that works. So we have here a lovely ECM. Inside the computer, we have a resistor, and then that is going to go out to our thermistor, which is our coolant temp sensor. Should be something like that. And then there is going to be a voltage monitoring circuit built in to the computer. And what else do we have? We have a 5-volt reference signal here. So this is roughly what happens inside any type of module that has a temperature sensor. Vehicles like a outboard boat motor may not have an actual monitoring circuit. It might just have an alarm with a temp sensor that isn't a full-on sensor. It just sees a certain temperature, and then it'll send a signal back to the computer that says, yo, we're overheating, trigger that alarm. But in most automotive applications, what we're going to have happen, the computer sends a 5-volt reference across a resistor that is built in. We have a voltage monitor. This is basically like a multimeter, a digital volt ohm meter, and it monitors how much voltage is on this part of the circuit. What's really cool there is a resistor consumes voltage. These two resistors are in series. The temp sensor is a variable resistor, so it is going to consume a varying amount of voltage. So you're going to have this resistor is a fixed resistor. The computer knows what its resistance value is. And then basically, as the voltage level changes on this wire, as monitored by our voltage monitor, the computer is going to be able to compare that to an algorithm, a lookup map, essentially. And it's going to know what the engine temperature is based on how much voltage is present on this wire. That's really cool. Let's get into how this works a little bit. So we already looked at what our 2 wires are. We know that we have our reference, and we know that we have, let's look at the right one. We know that we have our reference, and we know that we have our sensor. This is a really good, so up here, this is our coolant temp sensor. This second diagram here, this is for a different vehicle. That is for the starter generator coolant temp sensor. Don't have that on this particular vehicle. Although, if you look at it, it works basically the same way. Pretty cool. Okay, let's take a look. So here we have our power distribution wiring diagram. There are a lot of pages on these, and there's a lot of information. If we just went to a OEM wiring diagram, there would be less information, but sometimes that's a bad thing because then you don't get to see everything else that is connected. Now, I went through this, and it is on page 7 that we have our coolant temp sensor. So let's zoom in on this and let's have a look. Above bank to exhaust manifold, cool, that gives us a position of it. We have two wires, pin A, pin B. We have our signal, so this would be our 5-volt reference from the computer, and remember, it sends that through a resistor that's inside the computer. We have our voltage monitoring circuit that's right there. So it sends power out, which then gets consumed. You'll have voltage dropped across this resistor, and then we have a ground back to the computer. And that is our low temp sensor, low ref it calls it, but it's a ground or a negative. I don't know why they always call it a ref. Maybe if you know why they just call it a reference, you can let me know in the comments. Ground or negative. It is a cleaner ground though than just your chassis ground. That's probably why they call it the reference. If you were just go through the chassis, like look at all the different sensors that would have to ground back through the chassis, and that would lead to a lot of electrical interference. So if you were to have some codes for the coolant temp sensor and we need to test it, we need to see, is it working? Well, how do we do that? Easiest thing to do is look at the code. Is it a circuit code or is it a performance code? If you have a performance code, chances are there's a problem within the system, and we are going to look at a cooling fan wiring diagram to kind of figure out how this could get a rationality code, a performance code, to tell you there's a problem within the system. So if you get a rationality code, could it be the sensor that's faulty? Yes, it could. Is it likely or is it usual? No. Usually if there's a problem with the sensor, you get a circuit high, circuit low code. A performance code typically indicates that something within the circuit, the sensors do a rationality check to make sure that everything matches up, that they're seeing what they expect to see. And if that rationality check fails, let's say we had a newer vehicle in this one that had 2 coolant temp sensors, they could check the operation of the vehicle's thermostat. And if it's stuck open or stuck closed, it would fail the rationality check and it would set a code. And you could replace those coolant sensors as many times as you wanted to, and it would not fix that code because it's a problem within the system itself. So let's look at this a little bit here. We have our cooling fan circuit. And right here, we have our engine coolant temp sensor, and it has the same thing. We have our signal. So that's our 5 volts that comes out, goes into our sensor, and then we have ground on the other side of the sensor. So how do we test this bad boy? Unplug it, and then let's see what happens. When you unplug it, you should have a circuit high code because we have our 5 volts, we have that resistor, there's that voltage monitor circuit. When we break that wire and we unplug it here, well, what do we have? There is no longer a resistor here. There's no longer a complete circuit. So we would have a potential 5 volts on this wire. Now, at any time during the circuit operation, you're typically on a 5-volt reference. The circuit's going to operate somewhere around half of a volt to 4.5 volts. Why does it do that? Why doesn't it go 0 to 5? So that we can have our circuit checks and that the computer can tell if there is a failure in the circuit. So open circuit, 5 volts is present. The computer sees that 5 volts and it knows that it's not supposed to have that. It's going to set that code for a circuit high, and that is when the voltage monitor is on the power side of the circuit. You can have, there's pull up circuits, there's pull down circuits. You can have the voltage monitor on the ground side. If the voltage monitor is on the ground side and you were to open the circuit, then you would see a circuit low code because there'd be no voltage on that. And then the other thing that could cause a circuit low code is if the wires got shorted together. Because basically we have, let's see what's going to happen here. All of the voltage would be consumed on that resistor, and there would be no voltage left on this wire here, which would give us a circuit low code. So circuit high, circuit low typically indicates a problem. Could be either in the sensor, could be in the wiring. So how do you know? Well, when we unplug our wiring, we should have 5 volts here on the power side or the signal side, and we should have 0 volts on the ground. Wicked. If that's the case and we have that code, well, it's very likely the sensor. The other thing that you probably want to do when you're diagnosing, is it a wiring problem, is it a sensor problem, is back probe at the ECM. And now that's a little bit of a topic of debate. Some people like to poke wires. I don't like poking wires because I live in the Rust Belt. There's a crap ton of corrosion. And if the wire is not sealed up absolutely perfectly, it creates a problem down the road. So manufacturers don't recommend back probing because if people use a back probe that's way too big, you can get pin fitment issues. Or if there's an intermittent problem, the back probe will it'll tighten up that pin while the back probe is in, and you're not going to find that intermittent issue. The manufacturers recommend using what's called a breakout box, which is a very expensive tool that very few shops, even the dealerships, have. So you got to kind of pick whatever works the best for you. I like using a thin, proper back probe and gently back probing. I found that's what works for me. Don't be a wire poker. There's a lot of people out there that do it, and if you seal it up properly, it's going to be okay, but just don't poke the darn wire right at the computer. If you are going to poke it, give it a few inches so that if there is a fault within that wire down the road, it can be repaired and it doesn't have to be pulled out and repinned and replaced. So make sure you're checking your voltages at your sensor, at your computer, and then if you think there's a problem in the wire, like maybe this wire has kind of rubbed a little bit on a sharp corner, what you could do is unplug the wire at the computer, unplug the wires at the temp sensor, and then load test them. So what do I mean by load test them? Well, with the wire disconnected, and that's very important because it is connected to a computer, what we could do is we could ground one side of the wire, and then we could use a test light or a light bulb to the other side of the wire, again, with everything unplugged. And what would that do? Well, that puts a small load on that wire. How much amperage does a coolant temp sensor require? Not a whole lot. So a test light, small little peanut bulb, uses about 1/4 of an amp. If this wire has the capability, whilst being disconnected from your circuit, of carrying that small load, wire's good. Awesome. You still have to watch, obviously, for your pin fitment issues, but that kind of eliminates, is it a problem with the sensor? Is it a problem with the wiring? So if you've back probed, let's clean this up a little bit. So if you have back probed at the computer and you've tested for your power and you have tested for your ground and you are missing either one of those, then it's a module problem, not a problem with the sensor or the wiring. Neat. What else have we got here? Okay, we have an automatic AC circuit. Cool, and I've already highlighted our engine coolant temp sensor, and it does this very similar here, works the same way as it does in our other circuits, where we have our, where did it go? Well, let's trace these wires out. Wire 7 comes up here. Okay, there it is. There's our engine control module. So it is pin 7 and 24, no, 8 and 24. These two right here. So we have our signal, that is power, and then we have our low ref, which is our ground. Right back here. Cool. So this sensor, even though there's just 2 wires and it goes directly to your control module, look at all the different circuits that it plays a part of. It's part of your AC circuit. It's part of your cooling fan circuit. It's going to be able to affect things like your shift points in your transmission. And this is called multiplexing, where instead of having a separate sensor for every individual system, the sensor just communicates with the control module. And then the control module would communicate with, well, that's an underhood fuse block. The control module would communicate with other modules, and then those modules would use that information to make adjustments that they need to make. So this was kind of a quick overview rundown of temp sensors. We focused specifically on the coolant temp sensor, but every single temp sensor works basically the same way. They are never going to have a shared reference because they manipulate that voltage. They will have their own dedicated 5-volt reference circuit. So I hope this helps. Please let me know in the comments if it did and what else I can do to help you in your diagnostic journey. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.